Converted Man here. Today I've got a video from Shaggy from Scooby-Doo? Wait, what? No, that can't be right. Hold on. That's not it. Here we go. Okay, this guy. Wait, that is Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of looks like him. A little bit, just a little. Anyways, all right. Then again, I guess I kind of do too. I don't know. Everybody does. Whatever. Okay. So he's got 11 points about defending the existence of God. Gonna go through those points and fast forward or skip whenever I need to get to a point that he wants to make, and remove points for every fallacy he creates if he makes any or whatever. And it's just that's what we're gonna do. Here we go. Oh, by the way, I already fast forwarded to this part because it was just intro basically. So let's get to those points. All right.
I created an acronym from it. It's called Call Rod Him. I don't
Call Rod Him. Okay. Hey, Neebdus capturing Griftianity. Wow, that's a name right there. There we go. He says sup. Sup. Okay. Back to the video.
I know a guy named Rod Him. Him is spelled H-I-M-M. For each one of those letters is kind of a drop we're talking about today. But Call Rod Him. If you want us to tear that out, Call Rod Him then. So one of the first reasons why I believe in a creator, why I believe in God Almighty, is order and design.
Okay, well, all right, well, that's it. Thanks for watching. No, just kidding. All right, so you think that there is order and you think that there's design. Okay, well, there's a couple of things there. There's disorder and there's non-design. So, I mean, what is design? What do you mean by that? How do you identify design? And what about disorder? Does that exist at all? I mean, if there's order, then there has to be disorder, right? Or is those things separate? All right, anyways, all right, just okay. So, but that's why you believe. Okay, so you're not saying that proves God. So far, I have nothing to argue against because your beliefs are yours, and I'm just complaining about it. I mean, I'm not gonna not complain. So but all right, go ahead.
So you don't go up to Mount Rushmore, right? Everybody's familiar with Mount Rushmore. You don't go up to Mount Rushmore and say, hey, like Teddy Roosevelt, George Washington. Man, that's really awesome. The way the water kind of came down and created images that are the spitting image of these people. That's not our experience. You don't go walking on the beach and see footprints and say, oh man, the water moved in such a way as to create this, what looks like a footprint. Designer genes demand a designer, right? You just don't get.
Well, that's kind of begging the question in a way. But here's the thing. We're really good at identifying faces and patterns. We humans and other creatures are too. And there are things in nature. Now, of course, we get to the problem of, if you think everything is designed, then I cannot point to any example of a non-design thing to say, here's where you're going wrong. But hopefully you'll understand this analogy anyways, even if you think that nature itself is designed. So here's a rock. Let me see if I can get rocks with faces on them. And let me see you get the right one. Let's see. Here we go. So there's one. Here we go. So let's get me small and let's get this larger. So this is overseer of, I'm going to be able to say that word, Ibns, whatever. And so that looks like a face from this angle. Now from a different angle, it might not look like a face. I don't know. Don't get to see it from that other angle. But this is purely wind, erosion, and time. Nobody went up and carved this. This is just This is just pure forces of nature. So why do we think that we see a face there? Well, because we are pattern-seeking creatures, and we see faces. Looks like an eye, looks like a nose, looks like lips, looks like a chin, looks like hair. It looks like some sort of weird ear, like an alien ear or something. It's just we're really good at recognizing faces, even when it's not. Here's Face on Mars. Of course, this was a famous one, or somewhat famous, when we looked at Mars, and there was these faces. Well, actually, it's a zoomed in rock, and when you zoom out, it looks nothing like a face. But it's not a face, it's just a rock. And, well, actually, not sure how big it is, but it's a formation of some sort that we interpret as a face, but it's not, and it was not made by design, unless you want to say that God drew that rock there so that we would find it and know that it's God. But I guess you could, but hopefully you're not that sort of thing. And then Queen said, this is another one, and okay, well, that one's nature, happy face spider, but yeah, okay, we'll count that, sure, why not. All right, anyways, the point is that these things are nature. Now I'm going to distinguish nature as separate from things that you want to say are designed, because I have to have an example of a non-design thing. And if you don't, so I would ask you, what is an example of something that isn't designed? So if you don't have an example of something that is not designed at its core, then everything's designed, and there's no analogy that could be drawn. He said designer jeans require a designer. Now, do you mean jeans as in pants, or are you talking about jeans as in DNA and RNA? I mean, but you're asserting a causal agent unnecessarily, where a non-causal agent can do similar work. So it seems to me that this is really just the watchmaker argument, and it's a bad argument. It's been debunked many times in many ways, and it is just appealing to the fact that we can recognize certain things are by purpose to some extent, but we can only do that because we know how that thing came to be. If you had a watch dropped in a tribe that never had contact with the modern world, they would probably just use it to, bash open nuts or something. I mean, I don't know what they would do with it, but they wouldn't recognize it as being designed. So you have to, for the analogy to even get close to working, you have to show something that isn't. Okay, the footprints on the beach. Well, maybe they look like footprints, but they aren't. That can happen. If there's the right conditions, it can happen. So rather than just assuming that it's designed because it looks designed to you, what we need is some sort of test to determine if it was designed. Now, there's a psychological experiment that they do with kids, and they ask, a very simple one, they ask them a question about a log that's in the middle of a meadow, and they show them a picture of a log, and then the bear comes. Well, maybe it's a moving picture, video. The bear comes and scratches itself on the log and then goes away. And they say, okay, why is the log there? And younger kids will say that it was there so the bear could scratch itself. And then at some point, the older kids will say, well, the log is just there. The bear scratching itself had nothing to do with the log being there at all. That's not why the log is there. It's just there. So it could be the case that some people retain aspects of that childhood way of thinking that we infer purpose onto things even when they don't have it, like a log. Why is the log there? So the bear can scratch itself. Well, that's a younger mind developing way of looking at the world. And it's not an insult or meant to be an insult to say that that's possibly a thing that has carried on with you into adulthood, and or that your brain is tapping into that part of you that still does that way of thinking. But it's not logical, it's not rational. So rather than just assuming that it looks designed, so it must be designed, we need some sort of test to determine that it is indeed designed. So what would that test be? What would it look like? What would the predictions that it would make be? And so on and so forth. Hey, B.S. Lewis, I mentioned you. Okay.
Get bedazzled jeans for the heck of it. Yeah, they could fall on there. Maybe that's a weak argument in the 21st century because jeans are ripped up and tattered and everything else. So maybe a hurricane could create jeans for all I know. I don't know, because they don't even have leg holes anymore. But I think you get my point. It's like order and design demand an intelligent mind. In your personal human experience, that's just what it is.
Well, this is an appeal to personal experience, which is, a logical fallacy. So I'm deducting 1 point. You're at 10 now. No, whatever appeals to our personal experience is completely and wholly irrelevant. What matters is what can be demonstrably demonstrated. So even if it was the case that I was to agree with your very flawed analogy of the idea of genes being created by a hurricane, you might as well have done the airplane assembled by a hurricane and that whole stick. Very similar argument to that. But nonetheless, even if I was to agree to it, the fallacy prevents me from actually doing so because my personal experience is irrelevant to the facts of the case. So I can't just say, well, yes, it seems that pants are designed, and so legs have to also be designed because pants are designed. It just doesn't work because my personal experience is wholly irrelevant to the facts of the matter.
And so anything outside of that is having a big faith, a really big faith. And so number 2 is a C, and it's.
So I'm going to have to ask if faith is good or bad, because you do have a faith in God. If you had evidence, you would present the evidence. If you had some sort of test, you would present the test. So is faith good or bad? Because you just use faith as if it's bad. Never mind.
It's cause. So the universe, we know the universe is not eternal, okay? Let me say this to you. Those that are scared of the Big Bang, don't be. The Big Bang is real. That really happened. It's scientifically provable. So if you're a Christian and you're refuting the Big Bang, like, newsflash, like, that happened, okay? So, but here.
It's refreshing to have a Christian say that what really I think we need to do away with calling it the Big Bang, honestly. I think we should call it the Large Expansion. Because people go, oh, it banged, like it exploded. No, it didn't. It's the wrong way to think about it. And space and time expanded outward from a very small point. That's the current model. But yes, the cosmology has been shown to be pretty consistent. There's still some questions to be asked, and there are other cosmological models out there, but I think that the so-called Big Bang has the most robust things that it has proven to be true. So it is valid. It happened about 13 billion years ago. So yeah, that's a while ago. Hopefully you also agree with the timeline there, because some don't. So, but I'm glad that you are okay with science. That's refreshing. Sadly, there are many that aren't.
Here's the deal. What is the explanation for the Big Bang?
We don't know. That's the honest answer. Cosmologists haven't figured it out yet. They don't have any. There's hypotheses. There's some ideas. There's a antimatter universe idea. There's a whole thing of that I watched a long time ago. Institute of National Center for Science Education had this whole thing about antimatter and different scientists speaking on it. And this one showed how we would have an antimatter and a matter universe, and they both extend outward from the same point, and you wouldn't know what sort of universe you were in, because to you it would be the matter universe, even if it's the antimatter universe, because if everything is made of antimatter, then matter is the antimatter, and there's just a naming convention at that point. But if the universes ever came in contact with each other, they would go boom and annihilate each other. Hey, it's Germania. Yo, Germania, mention your name. Okay. So that's that. So there's many plausible explanations, possible explanations, hypotheses that scientists have come up with. Now, maybe you're like, well, yeah, but I don't want to wait. I want my answer now. Too bad. We don't know. And it is in the realm of science to discover the answer to this, because you're studying reality, and science is really, really good at studying reality. Now, if you want to get philosophical, then lobsters could create the universe. Why not? Because sure, philosophy allows for some wacky shenanigans to take place. But if you want anyone to agree with your crazy philosophy, you're going to need something to demonstrate that. So that's either going to be science or something else. So what is that something else? And how does that work? Because philosophy in and of itself isn't that sort of system. So the only thing that you could maybe have would be a logical argument, which would be a valid and sound argument. So do you have that?
Okay, and the best explanation for it is that there was an uncaused cause. Okay, because we know.
Now, that's not a explanation, let alone the best explanation. For it to qualify as an explanation, you actually have to demonstrate that that sort of thing can even be a thing in the first place. So show me an example of an uncaused cause, whatever that is. And if you want to say that that is what got the universe going, then that's still the universe, essentially. That it is an uncaused cause that caused it. Okay, well, what caused that? Well, it's uncaused. Okay, so it just happened. Right. Why? You don't know. You can still say why endlessly. So it doesn't really solve the problem, but you're just asserting things as if they were fact, which is a bald assertion. That's another fallacy. And so I'm going to have to subtract a point, and now we're down to 9.
We know one thing. In our experience, something doesn't come from nothing. Something does not come from nothing. No, never. There is absolutely no situation where something comes from nothing.
Oh, really? Prove it. Show me nothing, and then show me that nothing can come from it. You need to demonstrate this in some way, shape, or form. Simply asserting it, again, does not an argument make. This is a bald assertion, and so I'm removing another point for that fallacy, and now we're down to 8.
So if the universe is not eternal, and we know that, and we subscribe to that, and it had a cause, then there has to be an uncaused cause that caused it. That is an eternal being. That is God.
Well, that's another assertion you've just made. So that's, again, another bald assertion. You're just repeating the same fallacy, and think we're down to what? 7 points? Did I lose track again? That's quite possible. No, yeah, 7 points. Yeah, no, I'm right.
This makes the most philosophical and logical sense.
No, it doesn't make any sort of sense at all.
And anything outside of that is, again, having a massive faith, because you've never seen something come from nothing.
And you've never seen nothing yourself. So you don't know what it can or cannot do. You have never seen a nothing. You have no example of nothing. So whatever you're going to say next is irrelevant. Go on now.
But you're having to believe, if you are an atheist, that something came from nothing.
No, you don't have to believe that. You don't have to believe anything if you're an atheist. I don't. Now, I'm also a skeptic on top of being an atheist, so I don't know. Maybe I might have extra baggage or less baggage. I don't know. But regardless, there's no I must believe X. This is wrong. Now you're telling me what I must believe, and well, that's not a logical fallacy per se, but it's not very nice. And of course, you've now indicated again that faith is bad, so I want to have as little faith as possible, but that means not believing in God. And it also means not believing in a nothing, which I have no example of. So I don't know where or how the universe came to be. I have no idea. I have no belief regarding it whatsoever, not even a little. So your assertion is wrong.
That sounds a lot like faith to me, right? So that's 2 points. Number 3 is something called the Anthropic Principle. So an Anthropic Principle essentially says that if you were to have, if we were to be inches closer to the sun or inches away from the sun, we would either burn and or freeze.
Yeah, and that's actually incorrect. We could be a lot closer to the sun than we are and a lot further away, and we would be pretty good. Mars is an example. We could live on Mars if we terraform it, or heck, if we just set up some bases there. That's farther away. We could probably do it on Venus too. Mercury might be a bit close, but with the right amount of shielding, we could swing Mercury. But we couldn't do it on its own. So if we had an atmosphere on Venus and Mars, we could live on either of those planets just fine. We'd have to have food there as well, but yeah, we would be fine on either of those planets. So those are both closer and farther away than we are. So that's more than an inch. So yeah, that doesn't work. What you're saying is like that, and then this is an appeal to ignorance. This whole argument is an appeal to ignorance. It's like, well, how else can we explain that life is able to be a thing other than to appeal to X, whatever that is? And you're like, well, there's plenty of ways to explain why life is here. Yes, we're in the Goldilocks zone, so to speak, but we could be a lot closer and a lot further away. We could have more than one moon or a different moon, and things would be different, but we could still have life. Might be different types of life than what we have, because when things are different, but it doesn't negate that we're here. So none of that matters, though. None of it matters even a little, because even if it was the case that 1 inch closer to the sun would burn us all to a crisp, that wouldn't prove anything at all whatsoever. It's not an argument. Not a logical fallacy, though, yet. But still, you're hanging on at, like, I don't know, 7 points, I think. Yeah, I kind of want to say 8. I don't know why. My brain's like, maybe I'll give him back a point just because, I feel like it, but I'm not going to do that. No. He stays at 7. All right, back to the thing.
It goes way deeper than that. It's a pretty complex principle. It's been argued about. People say the theological position that I'm taking is weak. Others say it's very strong. It is a debate. I'd say it's one of the weaker arguments that we have as Christians, but it is certain.
Then don't use it. Don't use it if you recognize it's a weak argument. It's not that it's just a weak argument, okay? It is a weak argument, but it's not weak for the reasons you think that it's weak. It's weak in terms of convincing power, perhaps. That's what you mean. But that doesn't matter to me, because what matters is if the argument is valid and sound, and it's not. And of course, you didn't really present it that well either. Maybe you would have done better to have a prepared Anthropic Principle to read from of some sort. Now, if you didn't want to take from some website or book, prepare your own, perhaps, but then you're going to have to learn some informal logic so that you know how to construct such an argumentation. But you should present the best argument you have. But what's interesting is it's an argument, not evidence, not proof, not test, just an argument, and it's logically flawed, and you shouldn't use it. Nobody should.
Certainly an argument. The Anthropic Principle is one that you could certainly argue. One that is not so weak is something we call DNA evidence. DNA, okay? DNA in a single cell demands an intelligent mind.
No, it doesn't. Not even a little. We know a lot about how it came to be. Maybe not everything that you would want to know, but that's not up my alley, because I don't know enough about DNA to really explain the science to you of that. But yeah, abiogenesis and all that, and RNA and all that, yeah, that pretty much covers it. I'm happy with that. DNA evolved over time, and at no point did it need a mind to do any of it. But if you're going to stick with this assertions, which it is, there's another bald assertion yet again, so I guess you're down to 6 points now. I'm going to start asking questions about the sort of intelligence that this thing that made DNA really has, because DNA, it's not as good as it could be. It could be a lot better.
I am no scientist. I'm a political science history law student, right? Like that's my path. So I don't even take chemistry. But
okay, so just saying, maybe you don't want to talk about this stuff as if you understand it then. Now, I look, it's good to admit your ignorance, but since you're ignorant of the field, maybe you should remain silent. Just an idea.
But guess what? I don't need a doctorate in chemistry or any sort of scientific field to tell me the complexity of a DNA requires an intelligent mind.
No, you don't need a degree to say something stupid. In fact, if you had a degree, you probably wouldn't say the stupid thing. The stupid thing that you're saying is that it requires this mind, which, if a mind is also complex, then following the chain of thought from before, complex things require a designer. Now your complex mind requires a designer, and you're like, well, but no, because it's always been there and it didn't need to be designed. Why? Well, it's just because it is, and so it has special exceptions to it, which is nothing more than special pleading. But none of this is supported by anything at all. It's just assertions that you're making, and I'm starting to run low on patience. But I haven't pointed out a fallacy lately, so you're still holding it at 6. But you need to make an actual argument here.
For example, if you take one single cell out of your body, you're talking about the tiniest thing, and then you stretched out that information on a piece of paper. That piece of paper better be 2 meters long, because that's how much space it's going to take for one single cell. Now, you take all the cells.
All right, let's look that up. Let's see how much paper would a cell take if you stretch it out? Let's find out. Let's see. How long is your DNA? BBC Science. Let's see. Okay, fine, whatever. DNA is. If you hold a speed. Okay, so let's get that on the screen so I don't have to just. Let's see. So, okay. All right. Yeah. Because I'm going to fact check them. Try holding a piece of string at one end and twisting the other as you had to twist the string close and close. Okay, your DNA is. It'd be about 2 meters long, and all the DNA in your cells put together would be twice the diameter of the solar system. Okay, cool. And that doesn't prove anything. It's just neat. So, what's your point? Please make a point for the love of humanity. Also, if you stretched out your entrails, they would, go for a long time. I mean, who cares? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Actually, it kind of shows a poor design because it's wasteful of stuff. You don't look, if you uncoil a slinky, you get a pretty long piece of wire, but I was going to go somewhere with that, but my brain just said, nah, screw it. So, I don't know. But then again, the slinky, it's just kind of a spring. So, I mean, I guess you could argue that it wasn't really designed. But if you're going to design it and you want to make it efficient, you wouldn't make it like that necessarily. Like, my brain's gone. I blame Germania. Yeah, that's it. All right.
In your entire body, one human body, all the cells, you lay out all that information.
Mm-hmm.
That information is going to be twice the diameter of your solar system. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Twice the diameter of your solar system.
Well,
in your experience, tightly wound information.
Okay, so he was appealing to experience again. So, again, same fallacy as we had a while back. So you're down to 5 points. Not doing great here. Running low on points, and I'm running out of patience.
Placed in a something never comes from an unintelligible mind by chance.
Okay, so you don't understand how DNA came to be, so you would then infer. But your ignorance on this matter, and yes, you are ignorant on the matter, does not prove anything. You said it yourself. It's not chemistry that you would need to take. It's biology. It's biological evolution. Specifically, maybe take a class in that and understand this sort of stuff because you don't. And it's irritating to me because you're talking as if you do understand it, but you do not understand it. And what really bothers me is this poor gal here that says, great job pointing out the science. Sadly, the science he points to isn't even as such. I mean, I can't really even call it science because he doesn't know what he is talking about, and it proves nothing other than his own ignorance. That's good enough. I don't want to type more. Yeah, because I can't spell. I've decided that comment was good enough. All right. Anyways, back to the video.
It just is one of the best, I think, indicators for an intelligent mind is if you study, even if you have the most novice understanding of DNA, it's like one of the biggest things that point to a creator, in my opinion.
And your opinion is, well, not supported by any empirical evidence, repeatable test, or valid and sound argument. So I honestly, I mean, it's your opinion. I don't I don't believe that you're in it because you haven't given me a reason to. Um, okay, so I recently got a new computer. You're like, oh, this is kind of a weird tangent to go on, but see, I'm a child early, late '80s, early '90s, and back in my day, hard drives were these big clunky things that made sounds and went and moved around. Um, and the hard drive in this computer is my old hard drive, which does that. But the hard drive that this came with is it's a little bit different. I just want to show it to you because I mean, obviously you're like, why do you not have a hard drive in there? Well, because it has the other hard drives in there. Okay, let's get this working. If it wants to, let's see, start cam. Okay. Ooh, that's a hard drive. Yeah, that is now a hard drive. In fact, this contains this can contain both of my hard drives and more than my current hard drives. I really should be using this, but whatever. Anyway, so the point I'm making is it's small, it's efficient, it's better than what we had. And had we known how to make And had we known how to make it back in the day, we would have made it that way instead of making it the more inefficient way that we did because we like to make things efficient. And uh, DNA is not very efficient. It's not very good at doing what it does. I mean, it does a decent enough job, but it's not very good. So now because you kept, am I still muted there, Blaster? Please tell me you can hear me. I just checked my own sound levels. Yeah, I can be here. Okay. All right. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So DNA isn't very good at doing its job, and the proof of that is birth defects of all sorts. So what how smart really was your so-called intelligent designer that it made this thing that can go so wrong? And by the way, an interesting thing about DNA that scientists have discovered is they're calling it CRISPR technology. And what they've discovered is that DNA could keep copying itself perfectly if it wasn't for this like flaw in it. And they're working to fix that flaw, which means that DNA will be able to continue to copy itself without error. Which means that humans have outsmarted the intelligent creator of DNA, because for some reason we have DNA that doesn't copy itself perfectly every time. And then so slowly over time, because of that, we age and eventually die. But with CRISPR, if and when they make it applicable to humans, hypothetically speaking, we could get an injection of some sort that would teach our DNA how to copy itself perfectly, and we would age in reverse to a certain age that we pre-select. We would stop aging, and we wouldn't die from age. We'd probably die from something else, but not age. So what about that? What about CRISPR technology? That pretty much says that the quote intelligent end quote designer kind of screwed up DNA to begin with because we can do better. So why didn't the designer do better? Why give us faulty design? That's kind of dumb. So it's not that smart of a designer. And by the way, what is it exactly that you think that we're designed to do? Because typically when you say designed, you're inferring there's some functionality. So what is it, pray tell, that we humans and other life, because there's other life on Earth other than that, I don't know, lobsters, for example, just randomly, I'm bringing up lobsters, no reason. um, what are they designed to do? What are they designed to do? Can you answer? I'd love to know the answer. Anyways, all right. So you're down to 5 points. Let's keep going. And if you hit 0, I'm stopping the video. That's what's gonna happen. So yeah.
More on that, go to Google. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
simple.
Go to Google. Go to Google for more on that. Okay, that's called fallacy of burden switching. This is a formal fallacy. Switching the burden of proof. No, it's your burden to cite the sources. It's your burden to make the argument. This is a major fallacy. Kind of want to deduct 2 points for that, but I'm only going to deduct 1, down to 4 points. Let's keep going.
How far deep you want to get into this is completely up to you. So there's another thing called, it starts with an I, irreducible complexity.
Which isn't a thing, and it's been shown not to be a thing. And so again, this is just your ignorance of science speaking. I'm just going to deduct another point and skip this.
5th point, irreducible complexity. Slab of wood, if you have a slab of wood and a spring to have the slab of wood, 8, what is, you have to have all 3 at once to make it. It can't, if you believe in macro evolution, which I'm a believer in micro evolution, look no further than the finch, than the example of the finch and Darwin.
If you accept macro evolution, you accept micro evolution. They're the same thing. Your ignorance on this bores me. You're still at 5. What? 4, did I say 5? 4 points. Yeah, well, yeah, you're down to 4 points. Screw it. Forget it. I'm skipping this. Skip this point. Skip it. All right.
Spring to the hammer of pieces to your island process, right? So it's irreducibly complex.
No, it's not. Okay.
You can't take the whole and then reduce the whole. That one's a little bit more difficult. If I didn't explain it in a way that's pleasing to you, Google, right?
Okay, you did it again. I'm taking it down to 3. I'm taking it down to 3. You did it again. Fallacy of burden switching. No, that's up to you to provide that. Stop switching that to your audience, you lazy person. Down to 3 points. All right. Let's see. Can he redeem himself and not use any other fallacies the rest of this video so we can get through it? Or will he make several fallacies in a row and I'll be done sooner than an hour? Let's find out.
That's the best that I could kind of take from it. And I completely believe that the eyeball is one of the biggest pieces of evidence that we can have, again, like DNA, for something that is irreducibly complex in nature. So a 6th point, and this is one that I like most, and I think I like arguing this one the best. Not arguing, but just pointing this out is there are moral absolutes, and due to the fact that there are moral absolutes, there must be a moral lawgiver. How about this?
Well, that's just an empty assertion that you need to prove. Before I assign that as a fallacy, let's listen. Give you a chance here, because I've been pretty brutal. You need all the help you can get, being down to like, what, 4, 3? I don't know what number he's on anymore. My brain's starting to give out. And it's so tired of listening to this non-evidential, non-argumentative, non-anything video. But yeah.
Yes. Slaughter of the innocent children is always wrong.
Unless God commands it. Because God commanded that. Well, you said innocent children. So there's a problem there, because if you view them as not innocent, then it would be fine to kill them. So God commands children to be killed. In the Bible, that's done, So, yeah, what does it say? Go and smite, destroy all they have, spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox, sheep, camel, and ass. So go to Amalek. That's 1 Samuel 15:3. So yeah, God said to go kill them, but those weren't innocent children, so that's fine. But then again, in the Christian worldview, isn't it that children aren't innocent because everybody is born with sin? Or is there an age of accountability? If there is an age of accountability, I have a video I'd love for you to review. Not that he's ever gonna watch this video or anything, but I've got a conundrum for you if you think there's an age of accountability. But there would be no innocent anyone under those conditions, so then it's okay to slaughter children because they're never innocent, right? Okay.
Being racist towards your African American brothers and sisters is always wrong.
That's not in the Bible. It'd be great if it was, but it's not. There's actual racism in the Bible, not towards African Americans per se, but definitely towards non-Hebrews. There's the Canaanites, pretty much, they're killed, and the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, they're evil, and there's very xenophobic tendencies. But maybe that's not God commanded, but also God doesn't say love your fellow human no matter what the color of their skin is. There's not an explicit order to do that. So this is wishing that it was there at best.
You don't need some liberal 6'1" white male from Harvard to tell you that just because his or her skin is darker than yours, you don't need to be racist. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I know that that's wrong innately. I know that that's wrong. I can view and observe children who weren't, had the world impressed upon them to tell them that anything is different from anything else. You innately know that judging someone by their skin tone is evil, is wrong, should be judged. Like, that's wrong. In the same way we know that the slaughter of innocent children is always wrong.
Now, these are just mere assertions that you're making without any proof to it. You're saying that it's innate in children. How about a study that shows that? That'd be nice. Nothing. You have no citations at all. Not even a little. So, and even if it was true, none of that proves God. None of it proves that there's a moral lawgiver. None of this proves anything. This is all just bald assertion after bald assertion. So I'm going to remove a point. You're down to 2. Let's get through this. Let's just skip this.
Guess what? And then you must respect. You don't subscribe to what you're saying as a right word, should or ought. You have nothing to base on your should or your ought. You are the moral lawgiver, and as a result, you are the God of your own life if you subscribe to that. And look, if you believe...
Oh, no, not that. Not thinking for myself, anything but that. Oh, no. Anyway, so...
Okay, because there is no should or ought for you. Moral absolutes demand a moral lawgiver.
No, they don't.
Without that, we're just... Murder could be right in another culture, and Nazis could be correct in gassing the...
Okay, so an appeal to consequence. All right, yeah, that's... should I count that? I don't know. No, I was saying I was going to skip this one, so come on.
Tells you that it is more than matter and energy. I'll give you an example of this, and this is cool. If you believe that we are highly evolved pieces of pond scum, and that love is is literally just a mental firing of synapses in your brain and completely chemical dependent, and that's just all that it is, that's fine.
Well, the thing is, I don't have to believe that, because other than your piss poor understanding of everything that you just said, love is just a chemical that's in your brain, and firing of synapses. That's what it is. In fact, it's not anything more. It's not magic. It's a bunch of different chemicals, some of which we've identified. And so what? And how does that prove anything? If you accept the truth of reality, then what? What's the consequence here for accepting the truth of reality? Come on, hit me with it so I can subtract another point.
Subscribe to that. But if you marry a man that subscribes to that, and you marry a woman that subscribes to that, and you're in a relationship, and you as a female get a little older, maybe a little out of shape, maybe less attractive, maybe beauty fades. Maybe your husband doesn't fade as much, or maybe and he sees an attractive young 25-year-old coming about, and those chemical synapses start firing. Okay, and he loves her now. Don't get mad at him, because it's just chemical. He can't help it. He can't.
Well, in a way, he can't help it, because that's how things work. She can't help it either, in a way. But we can make a decision to not act upon that impulse. That's up to us to do. But the divorce rate among Christians is pretty darn high. In fact, it's higher than, I would dare say, atheists. And if you want, I'll find a study that or poll or something that confirms that, because I could be wrong. I'm doing this from memory at this point. But this is absolutely nothing you're offering us at this point. Just absolute nothing. It's not even an argument at this point. You're just saying things.
Can't help it. It's just who he is, right? So don't get mad at him.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna say, you can't help but get mad either, because there's many reasons you're getting mad, but you have a chemical bond that's been formed in your brain to that person, and when they go away, that bond is threatened, and you feel certain feelings because of that. So you will be mad, and you can't help but get mad, because that too is a chemical result of things in the brain. And none of this proves anything. Is this supposed to say that emotions prove God? I don't know where you're going with this. Where are you going with this?
Certainly don't file for divorce. Can't do it, because if that's what your brain, if it is just nothing more than oxytocin in your brain, nothing but a measurable oxytocin /
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's not that chemical, but and so what? And what's your point?
Pheromone, external, whatever, right? Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
But our experience tells us love is deeper than that.
Okay, so you're appealing to experience, which is fallacious, so you already covered. So down to 1 point left. You have one more fallacy, and we're done with you. And then I'll leave my curmudgeon comment that says, I made a video that you'll ignore, and you will, and you'll never listen to this, and you won't have a conversation with me about your faith like many other Christians haven't. Or maybe you will. Maybe you'll surprise me, but I doubt it at this point. I'm so jaded. Anyways, all right. Last chance here. Let's get past.
So even though I say that that's one of my weakest arguments, it's one that
it's not even an argument. It's just like, we know that love is deeper than chemicals. No, it is chemicals, but whatever.
The rational does not come from the irrational. The fact that you have a rational mind means that you came from a rational mind.
Yeah. I had parents that were rational beings. So I guess. But you mean rewind that all the way back to what? The first Homo sapien? Or do you mean before that? But no, this isn't an argument at all. It's just switching one thing, say it's a parts and the whole fallacy.
So Darwin, even so Charles Darwin, that's paraded as being the kind of paraded as being the bringer to us of the theory of macro and micro evolution. He
he kind of was, but no, you're wrong about what he got into. Whatever. Educating this guy is not something I can do. It's beyond me. Somebody send him help. Send him help.
He even said in a letter that he wrote, I can't remember what the letter was that he wrote, or who.
I'm ready for the cherry pick here.
Whom he wrote the letter, but the letter essentially stated this: if our brains are merely highly evolved monkey brains, how am I going to trust my brain to tell me the truth about reality? If we are merely highly evolved monkey brains, how am I going to trust my brain to tell me the truth about reality? He's struggling with something called epistemological. It's called epistemological nihilism, which is essentially the idea that you can't know anything. But that's not my experience.
And he's appealing to personal experience again. Well, I can't find anything that says that Darwin said that at all. And since you don't remember, who he wrote it to or what the letter was, I just don't believe that he wrote any such letter. But that is something that some people say as far as that, well, how can you trust your brain? Well, you can't always trust your brain. That's why you should be a skeptic rather than just believe in nonsense like you apparently do. And why don't you use your brain to learn some biological evolution? Because clearly your ignorance is making you do bad arguments. And, so is it impossible for a non-rational super programmer to create a rational AI? There's your question to answer, guy. Was that a fallacy? Did I point out the last fallacy so I can end the video? I'm not sure. I'll keep playing until I identify the final fallacy. Then I'll end the video.
Experiences, I can know something. I can know this isn't a bad dream. I can know I'm not in a simulation.
Well, you don't know you're dreaming until you're awake. So, well, I mean, I guess if you have lucid dreaming, you do. So, but
I have a rational mind. And
well, do you though? I mean, kind of, but eventually at some point you're going to forget something, your memory's going to slip. And, as you get older, that will happen more. And your faculties and vision will degrade and hearing will degrade. And, so we recognize, I hope we recognize that you can't always trust your own brain. People can have hallucinations. They can have all sorts of issues with their mind. And, there are certainly things where you couldn't trust your own mind, and that's a horrible place to be in if you're there. So why would your intelligent designer make it so that our minds can also fail? And wouldn't that kind of negate your whole point that we have a rational mind? Because we don't always have a rational mind. So that's kind of a problem, but please keep going.
And I can know things, right? But again, if you do subscribe to macroevolution and you believe that you're just a highly evolved monkey, that's fine. But then you got to wrestle with epistemological nihilism, which says, how can you even know anything? And how can you trust yourself to tell you anything about the reality that you're viewing? Because
okay, so this is a full-on appeal to consequence at this point, and that's a logical fallacy. So there you go. We're done. 1930. I'm done. You lost all the points. Oh, don't know what I am talking about? Well, I made a video response. I made a video about this video. It's named after you. Go check it out. And maybe we can talk sometime about your faith or something on my channel. I don't know. Probably not. Because, after you watch my video, you might hate me So, whatever. I blame Germania. And post. All right. Thanks for watching. We're done. Good night, everybody. Whee! And Finn. Damn it went an hour anyways. Ah!